to do this together on Sunday morning. And I'm glad that here we are in a month of, well, our whole year is grand rising. This whole month we're talking about going from good to great to grand. Because it's a process, right? I'm good. I'm good. I'm great. Well, let's even step that up to grand. I am grand. And we're not going to get there just by wishing that life was grand, that I knew I was grand. Are we? There's got to be some process in there. There's got to be some ownership of that divine inner truth that I talked about a little bit in our meditation. There's got to be an alignment with that bigger knowing if we're going to actually live our grandness. And one way we do that, because the other thing about that grandness is we all do it differently, right? We're all individuals. There's that beautiful paradox of the oneness doesn't mean sameness. We all show up as our own unique expression of that one truth. And one of the ways that we get to be unique is what we value, what we honestly, at our core, think is important. And that's going to be different, at least with minor variations, and sometimes with great big variations, from one person to another. And one of the gifts we get to give ourselves is the exploration of, okay, exactly what are my values? That's what we're looking at today. Today's title is The Value-Led Life. Because until we get in touch with what do I consider valuable, what do I ground my life in, until we're really stepping out from that, we're not necessarily going to be on purpose. We're not necessarily going to be empowered to be the best that we can be. So let's just start with some definitions. What do I mean when I even use the word value? What is a value? Here's one from John C. Maxwell. He says, your core values are the deeply held beliefs that authentically describe your soul. I mean, that's basic. That's who am I and what do I believe? That's right down to it, right? Another definition, this one from Reverend Ryan Alexander, who wrote this month's material for our Sunday talks. Ryan says, our values are the space where our inner world is reflected in our outer presence. Again, once we really know what they are and can align with that, that reflection is going to be more coherent. It's going to shine brighter. It's going to get us farther down the road we want to get down. And that is personal work we got to do. Reverend Ryan again. By consciously directing our energies towards pursuits that resonate with our values, we create a life that is in alignment with who we are. You hear the power in that? Doesn't that sound juicy? I know it's what I want for myself. I'm guessing it sounds good to you too. So, big question, what are your values? And where are they leading you? And I don't expect a pat answer. I expect some some introspection to happen before we get those clear. That's a process. That should be an ongoing process. It's not a one and done. It's not a happily ever after. It is us growing into ourselves and paying attention to what's growing. So, some aspects of that we can look at today. First one is beliefs. That came up in that very first definition that I read, that equated beliefs with values. Well, beliefs. It's an interesting thing to note in this philosophy that we call the science of mind, how deeply core to our teaching the idea of belief is, okay? When, for years and years, if somebody that's not familiar with our philosophy asks, well, what do you teach? What are you about? I've always had a fairly simple answer. And that is, no, we don't have a great big dogma of you've got to get in line with this and this and this before you can be part of what we're trying to do here. But there are 2 points that are basic. First one is God is all there is. That infinite oneness I was talking about, that I'll always be talking about. The second point, Jesus said it, Ernest Holmes, the founder of this philosophy, said it a lot. It is done unto you as you believe. That's how the world works. What you believe is what's showing up for you in your experience. So it's a mirror. It's an ongoing thing. You see something showing up that looks really time to look at your beliefs about the world, about yourself. So if we're going to investigate what are your values, let's start with what are your beliefs. What if that's a place to dig in and get going from there? This isn't on a slide, but it is quoting Reverend Ryan some more. Our beliefs are those deeply ingrained ideas and principles that influence our understanding of what is important, meaningful, and true. And they also say our beliefs provide a framework for defining our values as they determine what we prioritize, what we stand for, and what we aspire to. So, you've noticed a theme here. I'm asking you to really look inward, to really explore, what do I believe? And what do I value? Because when we get clear on what we believe, that's when we start being able to really get into alignment with our values. That's how we really come into integrity. That's how we leave behind that idea of cognitive dissonance. Looks like one thing, sounds like another. What do these two have in common? Where we bring it into alignment. That's integrity. Definition from Brene Brown in her book, Rising Strong. I just love this. Integrity is choosing to practice your values rather than simply professing them. What if we were living our values? Okay, another aspect of this that we can look at. We've looked at beliefs. Now let's look at another core idea from the science of mind, and that is attention. Where are we putting our attention? This is also, basic Science Mind 101. Where you focus your attention, that's what you'll get more of. Okay? This is why we work so hard to say, okay, this This is an interesting situation that I don't like very much, so I'm going to state that. Okay, that's a fact. And what do I want it to look like? What do I want to move it into? What do I aspire to? What is the good that needs to outpicture here? Where am I putting my attention? Ernest Holmes, again, founder of this teaching, tells us, if you think of life, with a great big capital L, as flowing through your every action, you will soon discover that the things you give your attention to are quickened with new energy. Again, that's exciting if it's a good thing. Place your attention somewhere where you want it to blossom, where you want it to energize. And that's where this idea of values comes in again. If we've got something that's important to us that we want to see more of, that's where we put our attention. That's what we're doing in this work together and as individuals. A quote from Michael Beckwith: as the alchemist of your own life, find a bit of the frequency you want to experience and place your attention there. As it becomes your perception, live from there. That quote right there is a short course in how to practice the science of mind. Find the energy, the vibration that you want more of. Put your attention there. Step into it, live it, embody it, and you'll start to see more of it in your experience. You will start to live the life that you choose for yourself. The bigness of that life, the power of that life. Attention is what will get us there. Story that showed up for me. It's a true story happening even as we speak, which I think illustrates a couple of folks that I know who live exactly what I'm talking about this morning. That idea of what do you believe and where are you putting your attention? And that's why this story has a happy ending, is because that's what they're doing. So, this is a friend of mine in Santa Fe. We were on the phone earlier this week. And she said, well, I have some big news. Lots have been going on in my life. And she proceeded to tell me how the house that she and her wife have been living in since they moved to Santa Fe more than a dozen years ago is a rental. I didn't know it was a rental. It's so them, I thought they owned it. Turns out it's a rental. And being as they had scheduled some European travel this month in celebration of a milestone, they worked extra hard to get the lease renewal into place before they were going to leave town, so that they didn't skip any steps. Everything was going to be in perfect order, right? And then they got an email from this management company that had taken care of their rental. Not even in Santa Fe, they're in Washington, D.C. And the email was, guess what? No, your lease is terminated. This is 30 days notice. Move on out. Panic. Okay. Deep breath. Settle. Do some treatment work. They're both good at that. First good news they got was from another mutual friend who knows New Mexico law and says, email doesn't cut it. They've got to give you written notice. It's got to come in the mail. Certified letter would be good. And no, the management company hadn't done that. So that gives them some wiggle room. I mean, yes, they're still going to have to move out, but the 30 days can expand a little bit while they get that in order. And like I say, next thing is they still got to start looking for another place. Next day, the wife goes to work, opens her work computer, and there's an email promoting a listing of a new rental property that looks like pretty much exactly what might work for them. Now, first of all, this is a miracle on a lot of fronts, because that work computer only gets used for work. She never does anything personal on that computer. She has no idea how this particular message landed on that computer. But she took the information in that message and turned to her own personal laptop in the same room and quickly did some research and called her wife, called the listing agent, made an appointment to go see this new rental. Upshot, they signed a lease that day. Okay, it's not northeast side of Santa Fe, which is where the current house is. Northeast, if you know Santa Fe, is the cherry on top. It's the beautiful, best part of that one. It was so sweet. That's the go-to. This new property is southwest edge of town. Not what they thought they'd ever want. Doesn't have a fireplace. They thought they had to have a fireplace, but you know what? It's got this wonderful fire pit in this beautiful backyard. Well, okay, that'll work. So there's flexibility there. There's not this laundry list of it's gotta be, because if it's gotta be, it would gotta be the place that they don't want to leave. But this is their grounding in the trust of who they are and what they value and what that's going to give them as they live that in the world. And here, in just the course of a couple of days, everything they needed to fall in place has fallen in place. So they're going to go on their trip. They're going to come back. They're going to move. And they're going to be grateful for everything lining up because they are in alignment with the truth of who they are. That's how it works. Now that's a very feet on the ground mundane example, but I love mundane examples. I love it when things work. This one really, really worked. And it's about aligning. Quote from Chris Franken in a book called The Call of Intuition. I may need this book. Alignment is a vibration, a movement of energy that feels grounded and enlightened and propels you gracefully forward toward your values. That's what my story was about, being propelled gracefully forward toward their values. We can all have that if we're willing to dive in and be ourselves and do the work and love what's unique about us, each of us, and live that. One of the suggestions for a way to dig into this deeper by Reverend Ryan in the material for this week is a link to a Life Circles values list. And publishing the link here, and I'm going to ask Nina to get it into our e-blast too. If you want to go ahead and look it up and print it out and work with it yourself. I didn't print it as a slide because it's a whole lot of words, okay? But this is a list of, oh goodness, what, about 150 possible values? And they also say, if you think of something that's not on this list, that's fine, put your own on here. But the exercise is to look at this whole list, read through the whole thing, start checking off the ones that feel like you. Start checking off the ones that resonate, that make you feel good and in yourself and in your power. And start out with, Reverend Ryan suggests 15 words from the list. First time I went through it, I hit 21 the first time through, but I'm a maximalist, okay? You take that 15 then, and you edit, and you bring it down to, okay, what are the 10 most important to me on this list? And then you take it down another notch, take it down to 5 that really, really say, this is me. This is what I value. And then just celebrate that list, that short list. Celebrate who you are. It's a great exercise. And you know what? Your list will be different than anybody else's. Anybody else's. I mean, stability, maybe. Imagination, oh yeah, that's one for me. Determination, individuality, health, wisdom, power, abundance. What's yours? What's yours? Do this. Play with it. Enjoy the process, and then really, really enjoy the results. And have you noticed, because I sure did, how similar this work is to the work we did in the town hall meeting a couple of weeks ago, where we came up with the words that describe why we love United Life, why we are members of this community, what's important to us. And that list is just outside the sanctuary doors there, and it is a beautiful list. And you will notice, if you read through it again, if you were at the meeting still, please read through it again. If you weren't there, for sure, read through it. Some of the things on that list won't resonate with you. It's okay. Those are others. They belong to others. Some of them will really hit the spot. And that's how we live United Life. We live our values. That's what the work we're doing here together. And isn't that a blast? Isn't that how life ought to be? Which brings me to the final chunk of what to look at in this whole context of values. We hit beliefs, we hit attention. Now I want to talk about passion. Because when you really find the values that are yours, they darn well better light a fire inside you. They darn well better have passion invested in, attached to them, invested in them, embodied in. That's where it's at. Bring your passion to your own life by living your values. Eric Butterworth in The Creative Life says, there is a hidden genius in each person which we each give expression to through commitment, discipline, enthusiasm, and passion. Okay, we get commitment and discipline. But enthusiasm, there's another luscious word, The theus in enthusiasm is spirit, is God, is we are filled with that spirit when we are enthused, when we are passionate. Isn't that what you want? Doesn't that sound like a good way to live? So, that's what I want to leave us with today. I want to light that fire within each of us, to be our most enthused selves, to be most positively aligned with what is valuable to us, each individually, to live that value-led life. And I'll finish with one final quote and I'll move us into prayer. This one is from Gretchen Rubin, who says, "Focus not on doing less or doing more, but on doing what you value." Oh, there's a recipe right there. Let's do that. Let's live that. Let's enjoy what it feels like to live a value-led life. And let's take that into prayer. Oh, another deep breath. Knowing of one life that's the only life that is whole and complete, all power, all presence, all love, all light, is living itself and loving itself through every aspect of its creation, through every unique expression of itself, through every being, through every action and interaction and reaction, through every exchange of energy, through me, in me, as me right now. And again, take that word for yourself. Know it for yourself right now. In me, through me, for me, as me right now. And if that's true, then the power in that knowing is where this word is grounded. The word of God to itself, through me, for me, as me, right here, right now. And the word I speak is one of living my values. Aligning with what excites me, what evolves me, what opens me to a brighter and bigger and fuller expression of the divine as me in the world. That's what I claim for myself right now. That's what I claim for every person. Those engaged in this discussion right here, right now, those who have no idea that we're talking about this, but are feeling it within themselves because it's in there in every person. That is spiritual magnificence expressing itself through every life. And I know that and claim that now. And in gratitude for this, in gratitude for what it feels like to say yes to this, for what is showing up in our experience today and tomorrow and onward because of this commitment. I am grateful. And in gratitude, I let it go and I let it be. And together we say, and so it is.